coaches or football managers, sports managers, have two basic options of how to build a team to play in the way that they like. They can look around the world and buy in, attract players of the styles they are looking for to create the style of play that they're trying to create. Or they can take what they've been given, what they have at the moment, and try and form the try and teach the players that they have the style and style, tactics, mentality, and character of the team that they are wanting to create. It's similar for role-playing games, I think. I play exclusively online. There are groups around here but they play in Spanish. They occasionally play in English, but they are Spanish speakers who are playing English as a second language, and I prefer playing online with I don't mind. I mean, I'm happy to play with non-native speakers of English. There are a lot of some of the best role players I've come across are non-natives. I'm not prejudiced, but I do want language and linguistics is a very important element in the game for me, and I like games that reflect this language. I'm playing in a Middle-earth game, and the language we use echoes Tolkien's language, sometimes very directly, where we take or play with quotes from the films and books, and other times less directly, but we still use language that doesn't jar with the setting. In fact, it complements the setting. Occasionally, even we've had people come in who actually speak to us in Elvish, and that's a challenge, but adds to the atmosphere without a doubt. That's because that campaign is run by Jarl GM, but I've played in his Viking Iskoloft setting, where it's a different atmosphere, but again, he attracts players of this type. It's like in a sports team, the managers who buy players attract players with money. Obviously, we don't get paid, but we're all over the world, and we all have a shared interest in this in the flavor he's trying to create. I for my campaigns, well, I'm learning. Basically, I'm learning how to GM, what I like and what I dislike, and my preferences. I definitely have a preference for historically more realistic game. It doesn't need to be historical. I'm playing two campaigns. I'm GMing 2 campaigns in Forgotten Realms, which wouldn't be my initial choice, but I'm investigating it and trying to bring out the flavors that I like in it, that I find. And so I'm very much I play with the material I have and try to shape it to my preferences. How does this relate to teaching the game? Well, I use inspiration very much as a sort of in primary school, a gold star for the kind of activity and behavior that I like. If I see something that a player does that I like and is the style of play I like, I encourage that with inspiration. Inspiration, this is in D&D, inspiration is burned through my games. You can't stack it, but so they have to use it or they'll get more, and the last one will become redundant. So they use it frequently. It creates a slightly different balance in combat and other things, but it's very easy to adjust the balance of play if you know your players will generally have inspiration, and so therefore advantage. You just challenge them some other you challenge them with more challenging, you give them more challenging encounters. But Mine, I make no apologies. Inspiration is not, I'm not trying to be an impartial referee. I'm trying to be a partial, I'm trying to create, I'm trying to, yeah, we are trying as a group, and I am trying to instill, I am the director. If I'm the GM, I'm like the director of the group, director of a group of actors who's trying to instill an atmosphere, a style of play in the game, and anything that adds to that style of play, I encourage, and I might interrupt or stop anything that goes against. That's a difficult one. I haven't actually quite figured out where to draw the line of what I don't allow. How to react to people who play in a style that doesn't fit the style I'm going for. It doesn't happen very often. Usually with the with the introduction spiel for the campaign or one shot, with my own description, with the description of players I know and trust, that's enough to instill in others a sense of what we're aiming for. And they may bring in a different element, and I'm quite happy for them to bring in different elements. I don't want it. If I wanted it to be the creation of one mind, I would write a novel. I'm interested in people sharing their own points of view on one topic and maybe it pulls in a slightly different direction. That's interesting, and that's role playing for me. So how I teach, not so much a system or a game, but I attempt to engender or teach a style of play. I've been thinking about it. I haven't settled totally on speaking in the third person, but I feel it's more descriptive if you are constantly reminded of who this character is, what they look like, the style of voice, how they speak, what they're doing as they speak. And so it's easier to say, if you only speak, I do this, I do that. I'm thinking out loud. It's not more difficult to describe what you're doing as well. You could just say, I lean against the pillar, scratching the blood from my blade, as I say, and you're able to add more background detail using the first person. But I generally prefer to do that using the third person. I distance myself slightly from my characters in that way, but then I forget and go into the first person. I'm not consistent. This has been a rambling offering, but my name's Caius. I love role-playing games, and this is my contribution towards how to teach role-playing games.